The Orlando Magic have an insane opportunity to make another blockbuster trade this year, and given the recent Shams drop this morning, you all know who I'm talking about. Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo wants out of Milwaukee, and now the trade proposals are flying in from every which direction. And Magic fans, I'm not blaming you. I know you're all wondering what would an Orlando Magic team look like with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm not gonna lie, it would look pretty scary, but whether or not that can happen is the question we're going to talk about here today on Magic Digest. So, before we get into that, I want to welcome you all back to the channel. I'm your host for Magic Digest, Sam Rodriguez. Happy to be back with you guys as always. Now, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, then make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell next to it so you can turn on those notifications so you don't miss a video here with us at Magic Digest. Like I always say, I'm going to try to be locked in with you guys for all 82 and hopefully, fingers crossed, deep into the postseason this year. That being said, let's just hop right into some conversation today. But before we get into those Giannis trade talks, I want to talk a little bit about tonight's game against the San Antonio Spurs. That was a tough loss for the Magic tonight. They had a golden opportunity to win that game. They went on a 22-11 run late in the fourth quarter to get them in striking distance. Then the Spurs basically gifted them a huge chance to win with two missed free throws. Franz made three clutch free throws to tie the game at 112. And then the very next possession, Jonathan Isaac committed a foul. Sure. But the Magic needed a two in order to send the game to overtime. The play they drew up to get Franz the ball under the basket, very well executed. But unfortunately, Luke Cornett literally came flying in from out of nowhere for the game-winning block. So again, it was a tough loss, but on the bright side, we did get to see some really fun minutes from Jace Richardson, 16 to be exact. He finished with 8 points and 5 rebounds, and I wholeheartedly agree with this tweet. Jace is a very, very smart basketball player. So hopefully we get to see some more from him. The Magic face the Miami Heat at home this Friday. So maybe that'll be another opportunity for him to play. Now, on to what we came here to talk about tonight. Giannis wants out of Milwaukee, which we all sort of knew already, right? There was a lot of talk about this over the summer, but earlier today, Shams dropped this tweet that he and his agent have started conversations with the Bucks on his future with the organization and whether or not it makes more sense for him to stay or to be moved. And I think we can all agree that it's very likely at this point that he is going to be moved. Now, a lot of the narratives you're probably seeing involve the New York teams, specifically the Knicks. Brian Windhorst reporting that Giannis does want to be a Knick. And if you recall, Giannis was supposedly shopping for houses in New York over the summer. So this would make a lot of sense. Some of the trades I've been seeing are a Giannis for Cat trade straight up. That works financially. An OG Anunoby and Josh Hart for Giannis trade works. And either of these trades, obviously, makes the Knicks a very, very scary team. I mean, it goes without saying that Giannis is unbelievably talented, and here are his stats on the season. If you needed a reminder at all, which I'm sure you don't, but on the other side of the bridge, we have Brooklyn, who has the picks to really, really sweeten a deal for Giannis, many of which they got from the Knicks in the trade for Mikal Bridges. They can trade Michael Porter Jr. and Terrence Mann. That works financially. And then whatever picks Milwaukee wants, to be quite honest. But this is Magic Digest. So we're going to talk about what a trade for Giannis would look like. So please drop a comment. Let me know what you would be willing to part with to make this trade happen. I'm trying to see something. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is any trade for Paolo Banchero. It's very difficult and very, very unlikely, and I'm going to explain why. So, Paolo has something called a poison pill provision in his contract. So, what this means is that if the Magic were to trade Paolo, it would count as 14 million going out for the Magic. That's what he currently makes. But it would count as 42 million coming in for Milwaukee, which is what Paolo would make next year. And I'm going to pull up this graphic for you so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. And you can always search the poison pill provision on your own to make it make a little more sense for you, but I'm going to try to describe it as best I can. So, in order for the Magic to even make the money work in this trade, and for reference, Giannis makes $54 million, the Magic would have to send out an additional 40 million again, because it would count as 14 million going out. So they would have to send out that additional 40 million. So let's say Suggs and Jonathan Isaac, for example. But the problem is that because it's 42 million coming in from Milwaukee, a third team would have to be involved in this trade to make that money work for all sides. Now, I'm not saying that this can't happen. I'm saying I don't know if I see a world in which it does. Okay, so now that that's kind of out of the way, let's take Paolo out of the equation. I don't think Paolo is going to be traded. The Magic have to get to that 54 million to take on Giannis. So there's plenty of scenarios in which that can happen, but I want you to keep in mind that any of these scenarios absolutely have to include one of Franz, Desmond, and Suggs. So let's start with the Franz packages. You have Franz and Jonathan Isaac, or Franz, Wendell Carter, and Anthony Black. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I don't really like any situation in which the Orlando Magic are trading Franz Wagner. He's an absolute star. You guys could probably disagree with me, Franz for Giannis, if that's what you want to do. Like I said, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. Like I said, I'm trying to see something here. But I would move on from this entirely. Then you have the Suggs packages. This would look like Suggs, Wendell, and Goga. Having a hard time with this one as well because now the Magic don't have a center. Not to mention on the other side, the Bucks just traded for a center in Miles Turner. So don't really see this happening unless they're immediately parting ways with one or both of these guys. Then you also have Suggs, Wendell, and Anthony Black. This is really hard for me to swallow as well because who is playing point guard for this team? It's obviously not going to be Tyus Jones, although who knows? Maybe in a starting position, he might go back to his normal self, which is a very reliable point guard, and don't know where that guy's been since the season started. Um, yeah, don't really like this though. And then Jayce Richardson is your other option. And I know as much as the Magic community loves Jayce Richardson, I don't really know if he's in a position to be the starting point guard for this team, especially with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I just don't think that's going to work out too well. I don't think Giannis is going to take too kindly to that either. So moving on, then you have the Bane scenario, which is probably the trade that I like best, but I don't know why the Bucks would do it, but let me tell you what it is first. It's essentially Desmond Bane and Jonathan Isaac. And obviously any of us would like this trade, right? If trading 4 picks for Desmond Bane ends up getting you Giannis Antetokounmpo, then absolutely you pull the trigger. But again, I don't really see a universe in which the Bucks are taking this trade. Not that it's a horrible trade or anything, but they can probably get a much better deal elsewhere. It's actually really funny. The more you think about it, the more, as disgusting as it is to say, the best team that they could probably trade with is OKC because they have a boatload of picks and players that the Bucks would probably like. But we're not going to talk about OKC here because they're incredibly frightening. Um, but Magic fans, essentially, what I'm trying to tell you guys is that there is a very, 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 very small chance of the Magic and Bucks engaging in trade talks for Giannis. So my advice would be to buckle up and write out the season with the squad that we have. Grab your popcorn, turn on your Shams notifications, and just see how this Giannis situation plays out. But again, if you find a trade proposal that you like, drop it in the comments below. I always try to respond to all of you guys when I see your comments. So I'm sure you'll be hearing from me. Don't forget that the Magic play the Miami Heat this Friday. And until then, I will see you all next video.